been recommended a video explaining music theory? Well, I can't do that. I don't know much theory. But you know what I know a decent amount of? How to make a Minecraft build. That's not a sentence. So I thought I'd mix the two. Welcome to Craft Theory, a new series where I take Minecraft builds, I break them down into their bare components and setup. Before we continue, yes, Minecraft building, as anything with art, is subjective, so you would think you can't break it down into objective parts. But that's exactly what music theory is. Objective breakdowns of subjective pieces. And the way those parts interact, objectively, their interaction is subjective. This first build by me, I made it in about an hour, just a quick small house. We're only going to cover the exterior. If it's missing anything, please comment what's missing. I'll try and add any craft theory suggestions into the glossary, which is in the description. Let's get into it. So this is our first example. First thing on the list, it's got a warm palette, mainly involving spruce, dark oak, jungle and birch. If we lay these all together, you can see that that's exactly what makes up the primary part of this building. And it's a very warm and homely colour scheme. If we want a different style, we might go into here and a very simple basalt to stone gradient. This is quite a good gradient to use, and if I can make that, yes, it's directional. Hold on, there we go. So you can see this one kind of comes with some texturing. This one has quite high saturation, it's quite a strong gradient if you look, but based on the entire setup, I think that's fair. So if we break away all these gradients, you can see this one was much warmer. You can see them in the inventory down there. That doesn't mean that these shouldn't be used though. They can be used quite well, especially in interior design. But for something homely like this, you don't want it. So yeah, now that we've counted it all up, we're going to take a look at our gradient, which is a very simple, if I can just create a quick sample. Here, it's a very simple 4-tone gradient that reaches up from dark oak to birch. Now, the gradient is better from far away, and when we put stuff on it, the gradient actually becomes much smoother. I've just loaded some chunks. That was so lovely. It looks better in context, obviously. Gradients always do. Next, let's take a look at the depth and shaping, and it's a very simple plus shape. You can see that we have a straight bit down here, and it's basically a derivative of an L shape. We get this main L, then a short section jutting out there, and a section jutting out there. And I actually used a mix of roofs for this. Ooh, I actually need to fix the roof. There we go. So yeah, but we'll get to that in a bit. The depth from various angles creates some interesting perspectives. The first angle is very simple depth. We're sort of sneaking in the back bit. This makes it feel more cozy. Fancy door there. And from various angles, we get that similar sort of shaping, which is very lovely, sort of simple L shape shaping. So because it's a plus, any possible angle kind of looks sort of hidden away, which is perfect, especially when we're surrounded by trees, so the other angles are more difficult to see. It creates this more cozy feel, and that's kind of the thing with craft theory. You can use these to either create an enclosed feel if you want one of those, so if you're using a more stony texture, like so, it might feel enclosed, especially if it's a small building surrounded by other buildings. Whereas with the trees and the softer palette, the combination of those creates a rather nice cozy feel. Anyway, next on to the structural and floral decoration. So we have some structural decoration in the form of these sections, and you see I've put them in using stone for a bit of contrast to make it pop out. In hindsight, I could have maybe used a better one, but there's a lot of contrast there. There's also quite a bit of simple decoration, such as these. This is quite a nice. I'm quite happy with this curtain design. It only really works from certain angles though, but you can see it looks like curtains that have been drawn, and they have, they're connected by their wire up there. The copper wires are really useful here. We have more structural decoration in the form of these almost clock tower-esque paintings surrounded by shelves, which are just brilliant to look at. Hey, I got Dennis. And you also have quite a bit of floral decoration. This is fairly easy to do, but you want to be careful with it. You can see I've only really dotted it about, which certainly helps. If this whole thing was covered in flowers, it would look ridiculous. So we've gone for a simple design. Some sides almost look church-like, but I think that is a direct result of the next two sections. First one, of course, sectioning and windows. These help to fill space and can be decorated with, for example, I could decorate this with shelves and all sorts to create a very nice popping out window, but I haven't gone for that. I have, however, gone for a stained glass window here, and if we look, a strong rustic roof. This is a very good roof that works well for churches, and on the front it's fairly simple. It is just this repeated like so, and then you just stack them on top. When they collide, there are a couple ways it can work. So, for example, we have this somewhat awkward collision where they're both next to each other. Either you can do that, or you can go one step further and you can continue the roof all the way up like that. And that's what I went for there. However, be warned, it gives you less space to decorate. And a more basic way of doing it is just where they meet, like so. So this is fairly simple. I often finish it off with one of those, or flip it. So this is quite a good bell shape, and it's reminiscent of a church, and it doesn't require much. You also have the regular rustic roof, which is very similar, and again, sort of church-like, but also sort of cottagey, like so. So it's just one of these stacked on top. It's actually impossible to scale this. And they meet in a very similar way to strong rustic roofs. Then we have a, as far as I'm aware, this is a point roof. So it's the roof that we all know. It's just that stacked on top of itself. Look, if we go over. Now, this works because this is sort of a flatter, sharper bit that juts out, but it wouldn't work very well in some other positions. For example, if it was the front of the house, it would be too big and half of the house vertically. You can see already a decent portion, like 2/3 or even 3/4, or other, no, 1/3 or even a half is roof, but it would be even more if we went for a pointed roof. Or even less based on this size. You really want to strike a balance. Now this style is the modern rustic, as I've called it. It's a sort of I guess rustic sort of thing that you would actually realistically see, because a lot of building styles, such as rustic and all of that, and fancy, you wouldn't realistically see. Certainly not in a new build. This is reminiscent of newly built areas, but in a rustic style. There are all sorts, like mock Tudor, rustic, well that's regular rustic, modern, ancient, fancy, and modern rustic, and there's way more. These are just Minecraft building styles. There are real life ones as well, which I don't know many of them. Now, there are a couple things we have to be careful. This angle kind of suffers from a case of uneven detailing, where you can see we have quite a bit of detail on this side. You know, it's church-like grand painting. Then this side, not so much, especially from here. it is just gradient and a window and some curtains. However, that's because this is a misplaced key angle. If we walked in from here, it's not quite the same. You have to be careful of where you place your key angles. Like, this is actually a decent one, and it's well placed. Whoa! Except it doesn't quite follow the rule of thirds. Great way to do that is to take your phone and just line it up. This is perfectly centered, and it does kind of work. You know, the shoulders of this roof are perfectly lined up and all of the bits. But the actual visual interest is perfectly centered. And with just a little bit of depth added, it can look so much better. Where'd it go? Where the visual interest is placed on the intersections of the lines. This is a photography trick. So that's why I have you walk in from here, because if we apply the rule of thirds, it all lines up quite nicely, of course, going from down here. So you will be careful there. Also, oversaturation. This is a fairly saturated build, but you can look, the decoration covers up the gradient part of it, and the gradient is mostly what it causes that saturation. So it avoids being oversaturated. An oversaturated build can risk looking stupid and leads to another thing, too much detail. Like, you can see we have this quite nice front bit, but if this was applied to every wall, it'd be way too much. We'd have paintings everywhere, windows, flowers, complicated stuff, and there's just too much to look at. This side, comparatively, is just 2 windows and a bit of shrubbery. And that's kind of my point. You want to be careful when you're doing too much detail. Another point is a rough gradient. This is quite a rough gradient, but it is made up for by that. However, let's just grab a theoretical gradient here that someone might actually use if they were learning how to do it. If we just go for this, and then some polished, or what is it? Oh, I'm thinking of calcium. But yeah, you can see if we go for a basalt, stone, calcite gradient, it would work well in some cases. And this is the thing, just like with music theory, that looks fine. But if this was applied to an entire house, it might start to get a bit rough on the eyes. It depends. It's a much rougher gradient than this one in comparison. This would work for some nice jutting out pillars, but an entire house of this would look a little bit weird. So, but of course, it's entirely subjective. Using objective terms to describe things works. Rough gradients aren't very good usually, but they can be used to make something that's subjectively quite good. And that's all down to misplaced texture. For example, if there was a gradient on this, it would look kind of harsh with all the detailing, and it really depends. If you you can over detail with texture. And it really depends. For example, this bit, lovely birch bit. If there was a gradient going up that, it wouldn't look nearly as good. This copper actually adds to it. There's another thing. Use all sorts of tricks and tips. Be careful, because the scale of certain tricks. For example, you can use copper grates and azalea leaves to make a lovely hanging thing, but you have to make sure the scale fits. This one works because it's sort of placed on it, but it's kind of dangling. If I were to make one of those ones that's dangling from something, the scale will be way too big and it'll be off. Oops. So that's kind of it for this build. We've examined the craft theory. It's got a warm palette with high saturation and depth and shaping that creates an almost closed off feel. Combine that and you combine those objective terms and you get a subjectively cozy build. We also use strong rustic roofs and regular rustic roofs to kind of imply a sense of homeliness, because it's, you know, modern rustic. It's really, if this was built in a different style, it might look different, it might look foreboding, it depends. You can see we have a point roof here that really adds to the homeliness. I think this is the most homely side, and it's really well detailed. In reality, I probably shouldn't have put it on this face, but let's face it. Oh, This build isn't the best, but this side's also quite nice. All of them are good, and we obviously have to avoid uneven detailing. The detailing here is even based on our key angles, which are sort of like here, here, and if you ask me, here, because this is sort of like, this is like a hill. In fact, I think this is, yeah, and over here as well. In fact, let me just hop inside there, because I think this is my best placed window ever. Look at that! It's perfectly framed. It looks like pack in some way. So let's get out of here. So yeah, we also have a nice amount of floral detail. If it had too much floral stuff on it, it would look a bit ridiculous. Got some nice windows with some good sectioning, and overall it's a modern rustic build with nicely placed trees and perfect key angles to create that cozy feel, as well as having these curtains. It's really down to mixing objective themes to create a subjective mix, just like music theory. So that's it for this introductory episode. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be doing a few more of these. Goodbye. I missed the ravine.